a 27-year-old visual artist based in Split, Croatia. I have a master's degree in fine arts, more specifically painting. I decided to make a YouTube channel for a few different reasons. Firstly, and more importantly, I wanted to record the process of creation of my works of art from start to finish in a form of a work journal of sorts, and create a personal archive. Secondly, and why I named the channel the way I did, is that more often than not I have been asked by friends, family, and even colleagues of similar professions, how does your day look? What is your job? What do artists do all day? And so I have decided to show them. Hi! Hello! It's been a hot minute since the last video. But you know, life and all that. Anyway, in this journal entry, I want to talk about the textual part of my art book, and that is the movie quotes. First, I'll say something general about why I chose to use quotes and how I choose them. Spoiler, it's arbitrary. And then I'll talk a bit about the movie that this quote is from, and that is Andrej Tarkovsky's 1972 Solaris. Disclaimer, this isn't going to be an in-depth video essay about the film, nor about Tarkovsky's vision or his relationship to Kubrick, nor is it going to be about the book. Yes, there is a book by Stanislav Lem, also called Solaris, very good, and the movie's based on it. Nor will I compare the two. It's strictly going to be about my interpretation of what I've seen, and in the end why I chose the quote for the book. So without further ado, let's get into it! Before I get into it deeper, I just have to say that this side journal project is a sort of a way to help me understand the origin of my own work to myself, if that makes any sense. Sometimes ideas come in clear forms, and the work is distinct and defined from the get-go, so from the very beginning you know what you want to do. And sometimes they come like a vague subconscious thought that just won't leave you alone, and it gets louder and louder over time. And that was the case with A Short History of Decay. So answering certain questions like why this or that isn't always easy because I don't exactly know why. But maybe if I put myself in the position of someone else asking me the question, and then forcing myself to think and answer will help me get the clear picture as to why I did something the way I did. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but that's my thought process. So this is not the first time I incorporated some aspects of the moving image into my work, and for the simple reason it inspires me. Some of my favorite artists are directors and filmmakers. But by no means am I some giant cinema buff that knows everything about the directors I love, nor about filmmaking or cinematography. But what I do like is interdisciplinary art, and I often incorporate different elements into my own work. Both source ideas, quote-unquote, for this book came from different places, a textbook and a whole bunch of films. At the time I acquired the textbook, I was working on a project that was sort of based on natural history as well, and I was watching a lot of movies that dealt with the topics of nature and art and time and memory and subconscious and desire and all that. I already knew I wanted to make an art book because I really love the medium, and it all just came together. As I already said, I chose the quotes arbitrary, based on feeling. I just intuitively felt that they would fit best into the context of my work. Of course, they in some way or another talk about the themes and topics my work explores. However, the films I chose are in no way connected to each other. Not by genre, or time, or style, or school, or director, or country, or anything. They're simply movies I watched or found screenshots floating in the ether of the internet and then watched later. My choosing might have been erratic, but I hope that the product in the end creates a world of its own, with different and new meaning and context in regards to its sources. In order to talk about the movie, I have to briefly say what's it about. So, Solaris is a 1972 science fiction movie directed by Andrej Tarkovsky, who was a Russian director, and it's based on the 1961 science fiction novel of the same name by Stanislav Lem. The story revolves around a strange planet called Solaris, which is showing signs of intelligence, and the space station orbiting and studying it. Chris Kelvin is sent there in order to determine the future of the space station. He finds it in a complete state of disarray. One of the few scientists still left there, Giberid, is dead, and the other two, Snout and Sartorius, are acting strange. And soon the same thing starts happening to him. People and things start appearing, including his dead wife. Anyway, that's the plot in rough points, and the plot itself isn't really the most important aspect of this movie. I would say that even characters are not as important, because they are all in a way tools for exploring certain ideas. There are no great character arcs or compelling storylines, but the accent is put on the questions: what it means to be human, what is desire, what is knowledge and how do we attain it? Can we ever truly understand ourselves even when it's mirrored back to us? What is memory? The image that strikes me most every time I watch the movie is the opening scene of river vegetation floating and swaying in the water. The shot changes to an almost Arcadian landscape of a beautiful cottage surrounded by nature. It feels timeless, like a place from your childhood but infinite, a place frozen in time where the human is intertwined and in balance with its surroundings. The elements of nature are inside the house. There's like big bowls of water with branches or algae inside them, birds, flowers, but also scientific models, instruments and books, and etc. We sort of get the idea that this is Kelvin's childhood home and the other people in the house are like his parents or something like that. And that's such a stark contrast to the way Burton, who by the way is a pilot who has been to Solaris, talks about Solaris. It's a whole different organism, and you feel like someone is describing a traumatic memory hidden deep in their subconscious. The planet is undefined and unclear and murky and viscous. Infinite, but in another way, a strange and scary infinity. Even the knowledge and the state of scientific research about the planet is degenerative and regressing. Burton gets sick when he talks about this. And he visits Chris because he has been tasked to go to the space station and decide either to terminate the research or continue it. And then upon his arrival to the space station, he finds it, it's ruined. It's broken down, it's unkept, it's dirty, with like this tiny skeleton crew of 2 people. Well, but he thought it was 3 people, but then he finds out Giberin is dead. Anyway, with 2 people who are living there and who appear to have fallen down into some kind of depression and paranoia. They're also sickly and wounded and dirty. The entire space surrounding them seems like a regression of a human mind, like everyone slowly went crazy. Basically, the space station is falling apart, like it's ill, like the planet is the virus that has infected everyone in its attempt to communicate. What I mean is, what has been happening and what soon starts happening to Kelvin is his dead wife appears to him. She's now alive, walking and talking, everybody sees her and can interact with her. She's not a figment of his imagination, she's there. But she isn't really alive. She's the planet's attempt to communicate with the people. She's a materialization of memory and desire. A parasite, if you will, that can't live without its host. Kelvin tries to get rid of this apparition, but he can't. She keeps coming back until he finally faces the thing he was trying to avoid the entire time. Her suicide and his relationship with his mother, I guess. So, Solaris is a mirror reflecting the deepest, most inner desires. But I would argue not just desires, but repressed parts of one's subconscious. It's even shaped like the subconscious, an ocean murky and vague, viscous, reshaping constantly. Things surface and disappear, but they're never clear and they're never defined. The quote is taken from near the end of the film. I think he chooses to embrace the unknown because Solaris isn't scarier or more unintelligible than is one's mind to oneself. And when he comes to this conclusion, he has nothing else to do but to wait. No act of science or love or poetry or anything else will explain one's desire. The only thing left to do is to live and try to make sense of it all. And with this thought, I end this journal entry. 18th to 19th of September, 2021.